questions, no? After that, no? Ganun lang din, gawin lang natin free-flowing yung discussions. We all have 1.5 hours, sasabihin naman namin pag malapit na matapos. And at the end, magsasalita yung yung nasulat. So, yeah. Maybe simulan natin dun sa fellow na magdi-discuss. Microphone, ayun.
Hello. Sir, kasi ang ginawa ko, nag-notes kasi ako dun sa mismo sa synopsis at sa chapter outline. So, pwede kayang per chapter, dun sa, meron naman tayo lahat nito na sa chapter outline. So, pwede kayang per chapter dito. Hindi natin i-discuss, kung wala, pumunta tayo sa kasunod. Pwede din naman bumalik. Okay lang po kayo nila. Okay. Kasi actually, nung binasa ko naman yung sample chapters ni Miguel, halos wala naman akong kasi okay naman yung vocals niya, yung sentences, build up, this, pwede naman natin bantan sa so anyway, synopsis niya, sabi niya, the excerpt I am submitting is written from a horror novel that has been in the works for more than 3 years. So parang meron siyang sinabi dito na yun, so may tatalakayin siya na yung si Maya, yung main character, tapos nandun siya attending a small Christian high school, tapos mga things about peer pressure. Meron dito nabanggit issues with her family, tapos sexuality. Yung sexuality, medyo nilagay ang question mark kasi hindi ko siya nahanap dun sa... Pero syempre, hindi naman natin nabasa pa lahat. Kasi yung spirituality. Medyo natuwa ako dun sa part na meron siyang dito na questions intrinsic institutions in the Filipino culture. Example given as family and religion. Tapos meron siyang attempts to problematize social issues. Parang yung English language dito na bigay din niya. So parang nakakatuwa lang. Okay, binigyan niya naman yung gano'n. Kasi tayo mga Pilipino, medyo mahilig tayong kung mag-analyze or mag-check ng grammar ng kapwa natin or kung ano man. So medyo unique sa nakakatuwa ng okay, sige. Filipino yung natin. So, chapter outline, sabi namin niya dito, mga work in progress or stand-in na mga chapter titles pa lang naman ito. So, kung may concern naman ako dito sa iba, pwede naman yung ibahin. Okay, sa prologue, sinimulan niya dito, yun nga, yung narrator is presented to be the wind. So, medyo okay, diba? Tapos yung zeitgeist and idiosyncrasies of the city. So, parang yun yung window na, okay, bibigyan na tayo ng background, dun sa era, dun sa mentality ng mga tao during that time. Tapos meron siyang part dito na ang kinapture ng ancient force yung wind. And then removes its voice from its body. So parang ang take ko doon, the first victim, parang yung narrator yung first victim. Tapos parang ang cool lang doon, natuwa lang ako. Sana lang mabasa ko yung chapter. Kaso wala naman dun sa binigay niya ng example. So inisip ko lang, kinapture niya yung narrator, tinake niyo yung kanyang voice. Inisip ko lang kung kaya yung magiging effect in the following chapters. Meron po ba kayong comment din sa may prologue bago tayo mag-chapter 2? Well, yun kasi yung notes ko. Pero pwede ko din naman ituloy-tuloy. May silang yun. So, okay lang. Okay. Chapter 2, Conjuring. Ito ang nakwento dito is parang siyang prequel. Parang siyang, well, ewan ko, prologue din yata siya. So ito yung kapatid ni Maya with her friends. Hindi naman sila naglaro sila ng truth or dare and the Bloody Mary in the process. Tapos, ang inisip ko lang dito, kung ano kaya ang nauna, medyo na-confuse ako, kung yung prologue or yung etong chapter 2, yung Conjuring. Kasi, di Bloody Mary sila, so nabuksan yung, ewan ko, basta parang dito lumabas yung evil entity. So, inisip ko lang kung yung Bloody Mary ba yung nag-open ng dimension para pumasok itong entity. kaya gusto etong entity. So, ina-expect ko na makikita natin siya sa susunod na mga chapters. Tapos, yung papatay niya yung mga dude, mga girls pala. So, she proceeds to kill everyone in the party and sets the unit ablaze. So, only a young girl sleeping in. Medyo nagustuhan ko yung pagkakalagay niya dito, yung alam, hindi ko alam kung paano niya nila ginawa yung actual chapter, yung actual na pagkasulat din sa chapter. Kasi mayroong nakalagay dito, only a young girl sleeping in another room manages to escape through the fire exit. Kaya hindi sinabi ko sino. Tapos yung pagdating sa number 3, Maya. Di ba parang 2, di ba? Ako, sorry, baba ko. Ayan. Hindi naman niya pinangalanan yung nag-conjure ng entity dun sa True Blood Mary. Tapos ito, Maya, yung chapter revolves around Maya's first day in school. So okay, establishing ito. I like it. Si Pamela dito ba ay friend pa niya? Shout out. Mamaya pa na siya. So anyway. So parang friend pa yata, kasi parang bagong salta si Maya dun sa school, pinakilala pa ng mga characters. Si Pamela na medyo kontrabida parang friend pa nung barkada. Tapos invitation, flash forward. Okay, flash forward na. So parang lumabas dito si Lainey ba or Lan? Lainey. Okay, may word. So parang lumalabas dito siya ang leader. So iniisip ko na makikita ko pa kaya yung support na or development sa parang chapters na siya kaya ang leader talaga sa kanila. Okay, tapos yun. It's number 40. Okay, dito biglang nabanggit ulit ang narrator. So buhay pa pala itong narrator. Pero ewan ko kung anong effect sa kanya nung di ba na-capture yung or iba na to. Na-capture siya yung entity na whatever. Tapos, chapter 6, Pamela. Okay, medyo nagustuhan ko din to kasi parang ito yung experience ni Pamela na kinuha siya ng entity, tapos parang ito, sabi dito, dinala siya sa isang hellish dimension, tapos presented through the lens of her experience with emotionally distant parents. So meron siyang mga pansariling struggle, siguro na-imagine ko yun ng movie, parang medyo nagpa-flash-flash siguro yung mga masasamang alaala niya, gano'n. So medyo may depth dito yung character niya, na hahanapin ko din sana yung depth ng mga iba pang characters. Tapos meron dito sinabi na the stranger presents himself as a vessel and out of his body steps an incomprehensive evil. Yung stranger, hindi ko alam, ewan ko kung ano pa ni Miguel to eventually, who's the stranger. Ang tanong ko kasi doon, who's the stranger? I know he's a stranger, kaya hindi ko siya kilala, pero what is his image? Parang lumabas sa kanya, even like, kaya ito, parang mukha ba siyang tao, tapos lumabas sa kanya uli yung isa pang evil na, ewan. So parang, pwede naman siguro evil na lang agad. Hindi ko lang alam kung anong discard ni Miguel dito. Tapos removes her voice, assumes control. So parang ginamit niya ulit yung katulad ng ginawa niya dun sa Wing or dun sa first narrator, kung first narrator man yun. Pero hinahanap ko pa rin kung anong effect. So ngayon, hintay pa natin yan. Yung narrator, medyo yung wala akong nakita effect. Bukod sa nag-change ng person, naging third person daw. Yun. Tapos, dun sa chapter 7, routine, ito, in-explain lang yung mga, actually okay din to kasi positive din sa amin to kasi si Maya, at yung mga shortcomings niya, weakness niya, yung mga pain at saka wounds niya, okay yun kasi parang hindi siya super perfect or whatever na bida. Meron siyang mga stuff. So dito, naalala ko sa kanya, ewan ko kung nabasa niyo yung sa medyo corny John Green, yung madami siyang sa Turtles All the Way Down, masyado siyang madaming iniisip na whatever. Okay. Tapos, medyo okay. So, okay. Tapos ito, Dreams, number 8, chapter 8. Okay ito kasi may new character. So, sa 8th chapter, para sa akin refreshing kasi may bagong character. Tapos, sabi dito, Maya and her friends live in. Who lives outside of the subdivision, Maya and her friends live in. So parang ang sinasabi ba dito ay magkakapit-bahay lahat sila Maya, tapos and this boy is not living in that subdivision, so parang outside siya. So inisip ko dito yung variations. So si Maya ba ay mayaman or and this boy is not? Tapos, well, kung may ganun, meron siyang variation yung pinapasok. Makakatuwa naman yun. This tells us that this guys... Okay, so meron dito na meron din siyang ipinasok dito sa chapter na to. Medyo mahalaga yun. Na although the chapter ends with him waiting, yung sinasabi dito ay napapaniginipan niya yung fire na nasa memory ni Maya. So parang in-indicate na mahalaga yung character. So abangan natin siya. Okay siya. Para sa akin, yun ang kanyang foreshadowing ng character na yun. Okay, abangan ko yan. Tapos number 9, Sinister. Actually, ito ang chapter ng The Possessed Pamela and her effects. So dito natin makikita kung ano yung epekto nung entity na nag-possess kay Maya. Kasi sabi, took her voice and to control. So medyo na-control nga siya, pero yung took her voice, hindi ko alam or na-disclose ba yun. Ayun, basta. So parang ang nakikita ko, at least may effect dito kay Maya. Ayun. Tapos parang, kay Pamela pala. Tapos, eto, binubuisit ni Pamela si Maya. Increase in intensity as the week progresses. Okay. Number 10, medium. Yung character, meron daw siyang boyfriend. Okay, hindi naman natin na ina-explain ngayon yung mga ganyan. Kasi parang, dati pa, naalala ko lang na meron tayo na discussion sa humanities, pero luma na matanda na kasi ako. So, parang, ina-explain pa, okay, this is gay relationship, ganyan. Pero parang sa ngayon kasi, okay, parang hindi na kailangan pang explain. So, okay, parang yung ano na ng time, in a way, parang sa akin, ay time stamp din siya. Tapos, he writes his dreams down. Parang nagandahan lang ako dun sa image na yun. Parang naisip ko lang siya na sa movie, parang kumari, dark view. Nagising siya sa kama niya na medyo tense siya, tapos sinulat niya yung dreams niya sa isang notebook na maliit, tapos medyo madilim pa. Pero imagination ko lang yun. Huwag niyong pansin. Tapos, chapter 11, si Lady. The chapter is structured in Harry is inviting. Okay, dito lumabas yung mga characters natin, ang dami. So, page later, ayun, teka, okay, parang yung POV ito na kay Lady. Okay, tapos, ito na yung chance, okay din sa akin, basically okay din sa akin ko kasi chance to experience ng reader yung buhay nila in high school, yung culture ng school. Tapos, meron din mga follow-up characters. Yun nga lang, titignan natin kung dito, siguro, kung gagawa niya ng tawag dito, pinagkaiba-iba yung mga characters niya, ito yung tamang pagkakataon na ipakita niya. So, pwede mong i-follow up yung character, follow up mo si Pamela's evil aura, tapos, I hope there's already a few chapters earlier that's not their character. Okay. So parang ano lang, dito kasi nag-interact na yung mga characters dun sa gagawin nila. So basically, sana lumabas dito yung mga characters. Tapos dito din pala, i-revisit yung Kasi mayroong part dito, parang chapter ending siya. Chapter ender siya. Ina-camera kasi bini-video sila. So mayroong something sa fourth ni Pamela na parang may nagsasurround sa kanya yata glitches or dark something. Tapos chapter 12, Nico's character. Okay, meron siya pre-message dito pa yung weakness and strength. Meron siyang self-doubt, anxiety, heroic. Tapos heroic siya kasi meron siyang intention na protektahan si Maya. Yun nga, sabi dito, Maya and the great danger she poses to the world. Ina-expect ko na magkakaroon ng explanation ano yung role ni Maya sa mundo. So, kung bakit siya important o bakit siya dapat protektahan. At bakit din si Nico ay meron, yun yung mga questions ko. So, medyo mixed ako dito. So, iniisip ko, bakit kayo susunod chapters. Tapos yung ginamit niya yung word of beast dito sa chapter outline. So, iniisip ko tuloy kung animalistic yung image ng entity o void na talaga siya, darkness. Tapos, yun, kinonsume daw niya yung victim, yung boyfriend ni Nikki. So, ang tanong ko doon, paano kaya niya kinonsume yung yung mga tao or yung mga bagay. So, pero in-explain naman yun sa mga sumunod na chapters. Yun nga lang, parang dito nagkakaroon ako ng mga question kung ano ba yung gusto ng entity, ng evil force na yun. So for example, dito kasi parang nagko-consume lang siya, so pinapatay niya yung mga tao. Iniisip ko kung ano ba yung meron bang pattern na parang meron dito bang mga tao na ito ay may nagawa na kailangan nila pagbayaran o kaya kasi ang point ko is either we may give unique traits of the for the entity or it's just plain monster. Parang tipong kung monster lang siya na nangangain ng kung sino man or ang ginagawa niya or meron siyang goal or meron siya talagang pinagmulan. So, ano kaya to? Spirit, flesh, memory, ano kaya tinakain niya? Ano kaya ino-consume niya? Tapos, parang example kasi dyan, for example, kung magiging specific si Miguel, halimbawa, ang mga dementors, tinitake nila yung parang sabi lang sa nila Harry Potter na parang tinitake all the happiness in the world. So, merong specific feeling. Hindi yung parang ashes right na, okay, or beef ka na, mga ganun. Tapos, yun, so sa Japanese naman, sa Sadako, mamamatay sila sa hindi ma-explain na fear, tapos mamamatay sila na nakakama sila or nandito sila sa tao. And that's it. Ito kasi, basta sinasabi, consume sila. So, dito, nag-start na akong mag-question kung bakit tinatake yung voice, pero sa susunod na chapter, may voice pa rin. So, is it literal or is it something else? Tapos, pero dito, sa sumunod na chapter dito, shredded daw siya eh. So, yun, anyway. Okay, sa chapter 14, bibilisan ko na po ng konti. She is glowing with health. So, si Nikki daw, si Nikki sa Flag Surrender dito glowing with health. Isip ko lang kung bakit kaya. Kasi kung totoo sa'yo, halimbawa, diba, nagta-text sila ng boyfriend niya. Tapos that night, namatay yung boyfriend niya. Hindi niya pa alam, syempre. Pero, at least, magtataka siya o bakit hindi na nag-reply ito. Ano kaya nangyari? So, ewan ko, bakit the next morning, glowing with health siya. Tapos, yung chapter 15 pala, the Magician. Ayan, eto na yung binalita na yung patay na si Derek. Tapos, si Derek pala yung boyfriend ni Nikki. Tapos, siya yung naging victim. Kasi ito, siya yung ginawa for beef. First, reveal no prior info. Yan yung note ko doon. Kasi si Derek, parang, base sa chapters na binigay ni Miguel, tapos dun sa outline ng una, wala pang nabanggit na Derek. Pero first reveal niya, death siya. Pwede din naman yan, wala namang bawal. Pero siguro, parang naisip ko lang na, minsan, mas matindi yung impact ng isang character na pinatay kapag nakasama mo na siya. Kapag nag-root ka na sa kanya, okay, mabait naman ito kaso medyo loko lang eh. Pero okay naman, nagugustuhan ka na siya din. Okay, di ba? Ganun. Tapos, dito. Kasi dun sa chapter niya na yun, medyo nagdala-dala si Pamela. So, sinasabi niya kung ano yung nangyari kay Derek, shredded yung kanyang flesh sa ganyan. So, paano kaya ang tanong ko doon, paano kaya nalaman ni Pamela yung nangyari yun? So, dahil kaya yun sa possession niya, or nagkaroon siya ng vision na nakikita niya yung ginagawa ng entity. Okay, tapos sa chapter 16, lovers, okay, Nico, okay, ang tanong ko lang dito, ito, yung boyfriend ni Nico na nag-cheat sa kanya, inattack din ang boy. So, ang question ko dyan, yun na, talagang papasok na dito yung question ko kanina pa. Kasi dito, kailangan ko nang malaman. So, parang halimbawa, ano ba yung pattern na pinapatay ng entity? Parang kailangan ko lang ng, inisip ko lang na siguro, baka meron siyang dapat sinusunod na something. Parang tipong lahat ng mga taong gumawa ng ganito, yun yung papatay niya. Pero, inisip ko lang kung random siya. Okay. Tapos sa chapter 17, dito, pinakita na ni Nico yung psychic abilities niya kay Clarice. Si Clarice, naghahanap pa rin ako ng character niya. So, paano kaya niya pinakita yung psychic abilities niya, sabi dito, na enough para maging ma-terrify itong si Clarice at tumakbo palabas. Okay, tapos yun. Nung masasagsa si Clarice, biglang i-stop ni Nico yung time, long enough for him to push her out of the road. Medyo matinding powers ang pag-stop ng time. So, inisip ko, hindi ko alam ang plano ni Miguel. Pero kung maganda siguro kung gagawa niya ng at least, kung hindi man niya kailangan i-explain sa movie, kahit lagyan niya lang ito yung full power niya, ito yung limitations. So, parang mas maging consistent yung mga powers. Kasi medyo matindi yan eh. Tapos yun, i-explain the nature of his... Meron palang sinabi dito, Nico having interacted with the residue of evil in Pamela by reading Clarice's mind. So parang pinasok ni Nico yung isip ni Clarice, tapos dahil si Clarice ay nag-interact kay Pamela, na si Pamela ay contaminated. So parang ilang level. Tapos inisip ko kung doon ba niya nakuha yung power enough to stop time. Or mga ganyan. Tapos, okay. Tapos, eto, 18, intention, another ring source, something. Basically, doon ako madaming notes. Ikakat ko na, memory loss. Okay, meron din pa kasi yung mga, kasi Maya, hindi niya maalala yung nangyari. Hindi ko alam kung hindi niya maalala or too young lang ba siya para, so anyway, gano'n, previously, spirit possessed, meron pala dito na merong sinabi dito na inattack ni Pamela si Maya, tapos lumipat yung entity na nag-possess kay Pamela into impregnates Maya. Tapos, meron din, so hinanap ko yun sa susunod na chapter, kasi parang di ba lumipat na kay Maya yung entity, pero sa susunod na chapter, parang hindi ko nakita yung effect. Parang nanghina lang siya, tapos nangayayin siya, so nag-diet siya. Tapos meron din nabanggit dito na symbolism, yun, hanggang ngayon, ganun pa rin yung tanong ko dito, kung ano ba yung gusto nung entity. Ito pala, mahalaga pala to. Meron kasi nag-research kasi si Maya about dun sa nangyari, dun sa fire, dun sa kanyang background, sa kanyang past. Tapos, isa sa mga nalaman niya is, lahat ng, di ba lumipat na sila dahil nasunog yung bahay, pero parang it seems naman na naayos yung bahay. Tapos, eventually, yung mga bagong tenant na lilipat, disturb or hinaharas pa rin daw sila ng spirit. So, inisip ko, wala na sila Maya doon, pero yung mga taong lumilipat, ano pa rin. Pero di ba hinaharas din naman sila Maya, so medyo double job na yung spirit. So, parang nandun pa rin siya sa dating place, tapos nandun din sila kaya. Although, syempre, may powers naman sila, hindi naman natin alam yung limits. Pero, yun nga lang, medyo weird lang. Ano ba yung gusto niya? Buwisitin sila Maya or magstay dun sa place, buwisitin lahat ng lilipat? Ganun. Tapos, lapit na matapos, sorry, yun. Ito, chapter 20, magkakasama na, ito pala, sa chapter 19, pumunta si, dahil nga, binubural itong si Derek. So, nagpunta sila doon, tapos nagtanungan sila, may kinuwento ni Maya kung ano nangyari sa kanya, hindi naniwala yung kaibigan niya, ang naniwala lang si Clarice. So, parang isip ko, kaya ito, nag-break na yung friendship nila dito. Ito ba yung chapter na yun? Tapos, pagdating ng chapter 20, ayan, so, nagsama-sama na itong tatlong. It turns out na yung tatlo, si Maya, si Clarice, at saka si Nico, syempre, parang sila yung magiging character sa climax. So, nasa Jollibee sila, okay yun, parang, okay, Filipino, something. Tapos, sabi dito, inask ni Nico to enter her mind and engage with the residue inside her. So, residue, ibig sabihin, umalis na. Hindi ko alam kung kailan nangyari. Tapos, yun. Tapos biglang, nung pinasok na ni Nico yung mind ni Maya or yung spiritual level, whatever, inask niya si Clarice to pray the rosary over them. Parang biglang dito, nagulat ako, okay. Bigla na lang religious pala si Nico. So, ang gusto ko lang sana, baka dapat na foreshadow na niya to earlier. Kung na, okay, meron palang side si Nico na medyo, Catholic pala siya. Kasi yan, okay naman yung climax, so naglabanan sila sa loob ng astral plane, ganyan. So, meron dito, okay, hindi ko sorry. Okay. Tapos may part dito, okay, sige. Ang lakas kasi ni Nico sa umpisa Tapos bigla may part din na powerless na siya. In the face of Maya's demons. Parang inisip ko lang literal kaya yun, na literal demons or personal pains ni Maya. Paano kaya? So, okay. Tapos may din dito, so nagising na siya, ganyan, na-invigorated. Hindi ko alam kung bakit siya na-reinvigorate. Pero syempre, lalabas naman yan sa actual na chapters ni Miguel. Tapos, he wins, I guess. Okay, nanalo naman sila. Tapos, dito sinabi din sa final chapter, sa 22, si Clarice. Si Clarice, may mga issues din kasi siya, kaya nahihirapan siyang ipagtanggol sila, ipagdasal sila kasi parang, yun, medyo meron siyang issues sa basta meron siyang issues. So, inisip ko lang, okay, siguro, foreshadowing din to. Sana pinorshadow pa na to ni Nico. Para yung kumbaga, hindi naman sa climax na lumabas. Tapos, okay, ito na yung ending niya na medyo Hollywoodish. Okay, actually, hindi. Don't take yung Hollywoodish as negative. Okay naman yun, cool naman yan. Pero inisip ko lang, kung halimbawa, kasi yung ending niya, edi dinala na nila si Maya pabalik sa place ni Clarice. Although, ang tanong ko dyan, nasa Jollibee pa rin ba sila? Hindi naman siguro. So, somewhere siguro, baka place ni Nick or whatever. Although, wala kasi sa... So, syempre, yun nga, katulad ng dati, sa final na chapter naman, makikita na natin siguro yun. So, okay, ang tanong ko, bigla na lang kasi nung palabas na sila, nasa kalsada sila, there's a person, siguro another stranger sa street, na inattack sila. So, inisip ko lang kung sino kaya yung parang isang bagong biglang nilusok na character or siguro maganda rin. Yan, points din na pwede niyang kapag inedit niya na to, pwede siyang mag-foreshadow na pinakita niya na itong taong klasang siguro. So, isa pa lang, may ganun na siguro meron siyang trait na mahina siya na pwede siyang ma-possess, whatever. Tapos yun. Okay, inattack na siya, tapos sinabihan siyang you're next, tapos Nico manages to incapacitate him. But the encounter leaves Clarice shaken. Okay, so doon na nagtapos yun. Okay naman, yun nga, pero ang tanong ko, kung naman, tapos ano kayang mangyayari sa susunod. Tapos, doon ko ibabalik yung ultimate na tanong ko na what's the void? Yung void, yung entity, ano ba yung gusto nung talaga? So, until the very end, hindi ko nalaman kung ano. Tapos, ang tanong ko pa rin, isa pa is, si Maya, ano ba siya sa world? Yun lang. Pero okay. Yun na po yung aking notes per chapter. Pero ito yung summary. Miguel and si... Sorry na. Mahal na mahal ko si Miguel eh. Ay, sorry. Dali po. One page yun. Okay, ito. Ang strength ni Miguel as a writer and si... gusto ko yung katulad na sinabi ko umpisa is okay yung vocals niya. Tapos sabi nga ni Sir Jude kanina sa earlier na discussion namin, kaya niyang mag-build up ng scenes. Okay yan eh. Ang ganda din. Tapos ayun. Tapos yung improvement rooms yung room for improvement ni Miguel, yung development ng character dito. Hindi si Miguel pala, I mean, room for improvement ng novel. Pwede pa niyang palalimin yung mga character. Tapos yung void, yun nga, ano ba siya, ano ba yung gusto niya. Si Maya, what is she to the world? Tapos si Nico, sino ba backstory? Mas consistency ng powers. Tapos, foreshadowing. Tapos yung coherence nga, kasi merong part, di ba, na minsan, tapos si Maya, tapos susunod na chapter, parang nangayayat lang siya. Yun lang po, pasensya na po.
Hello. Some comments lang. on the chapters presented. But first of all, I'd like to congratulate the author who submitted this as a horror novel, which I find is imposed on what would have been a typical YA fiction simply. And like the futuristic story that we discussed earlier, this is most welcome. The multiplicity of genres, is becoming more and more welcome, especially when there's something that is weird in them. Again, like the first story. The more weirdness, the better, for novelty and freshness, and to take us away from the. I mean, it's nothing wrong with traditional fiction, but more and more I find that it's the imagination that has to rule as a narrative voice, and the more novel items, the more strangeness and weirdness one can introduce that has not been done before, then the stronger the narrative becomes. Okay. Having said that, I also commendable is the point of view chosen. The third person point of view is always more difficult, which is why most writers I find prefer normally the first person point of view, especially for YA stuff and even more. The third person point of view presents more challenges for craftsmanship and for the decisions that you have to make while writing your narrative. So many demands and decisions have to be addressed. I understand that only the prologue is written in the first person point of view. That's quite mystifying for me. I look forward to reading that first chapter before it shifts entirely or almost entirely to the third person point of view. With one other parang preamble of an observation. With most YA fiction, I find one problem is the multiplicity of characters. And this becomes a real problem when a lot of them are introduced on the same page or the same chapter. There's a problem of distinguishing one from the other. When you have a bunch of teenagers numbering about 6 or 8 being introduced within the same section, it'll be difficult for the reader to tell them apart. Unless you're a terrific writer who can, in brief passages, make each one stand out, as distinct from the other. Apart from that, there is the problem of, I think I mentioned it earlier, the quality of speech or speech patterns that you assign each character. Of course, with YA, with high school girls or college girls, more often than not, they speak almost alike. But you should still be able to develop a particular flavor that would make the characters stand out from the rest. Okay, now go into the chapter. So just go through the parts where I made check marks, question marks, and little notes. The excerpts presented here start from chapter 13 to 16, 13 to 15 rather, Boyd. Boyd is a rather mystifying chapter for me. I don't know if it is almost a repeat of the strange Greek creation with beast or whatever, the wind in the prologue, as we're told, is presented. So, although Boyd is written in the third person, and very evidently for me, I recognize immediately the author certainly has command of language. Very, very good language. A good example of that would be the very second paragraph. I don't know if it's the second or the second half of the first paragraph. The one that begins with, ensconced in the glow of streetlight, surrounded by what he has associated with the smell of the city, vehicular exhaust, cigarette smoke, and washed bodies of the impoverished that sleep in hidden piles in Irene. He wonders why this baroness continues to unsettle himself. That's very fine writing. For me, that's excellent writing. Now, in one, well, albeit long sentence, you have everything there. The descriptive, the landscape, the items, about the exhaust, the smoke, and wash bodies, etc. And then the writer culminates with, he wonders why this baroness continues to unsettle himself, referring to the character that is being focused on in this chapter. It's difficult now for us because it's mystifying, because we don't have the background to all this apart from the chapter excerpts, not the descriptions na kinuwento ni Eric, no? Mahirap sabihin. Pero taken by itself, no? Bumibili ba dito ako sa lingwahe niya? On the other hand, these are minor instances of cabining on my part. I could be wrong on some. I question the use of 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph. The one that starts with "there are no flashing lights," and then mentioning a ward against the darkness. I don't know if this is acceptable already. Yung award. Ward is a verb. Do you mean a shield or something? I don't know if it's acceptable as a noun, award. And then further below, the last paragraph. Again, this is minor, but it has to be cited, no? As something that is akin to parang a disruption of reality, no? When you say that there are people asleep on ratty mats and stained futons, I question the use of futons. Only the Japanese have futons. Futons are very expensive kinds of mats. I mean, that somebody threw a futon away. It's not just one futon, it's several stained futons. No, I don't know. I think you have to choose another word. No? As I said, no, that's just kakulitan. But seeing as how your language is in a certain level, one has to cite the parts where you commit certain inadvertencies. Again, on page 4, I must the middle chapters, where I like the writing, the pace of the writing. His hands grow cold, his heartbeat quickens, he straightens himself, but slowly, oh so slowly. His eyes trace the length and breadth of the highway with a frantic sort of energy, willing a car to pass by to break this frightful moment. Everything seems to be hopeless. The silence has gone on for too long. And then in his mind, all the waters from the shore have gone. The wave will be catastrophic. This is excellent writing, right? Ends with a metaphorical, on the metaphorical level. But we understand it. I mean, this is reality. This is the urban quotidian. This is the Aurora Boulevard and everything. But the pacing of and the cadence used in describing how his heart quickens and such, and then culminating with that metaphorical passage na the waters from the shore have gone, the wave will be catastrophic. Maganda yan. Page 35. I just made the question mark when he says, this is a horror movie, he thinks. Now, I don't know. You're already writing a horror story. I don't know if it's really proper for a character in that story to claim or to say or to mention anything about horror. But even if it's a movie, even if it's a different genre, I don't know. Pwede rin. Another questionable line is yung sa bottom paragraph, page 35. Again, I don't know if this is already acceptable. Yung his sharp inhales and gusty exhales. I don't know if I'm just being formalist. I would expect inhalations and exhalations. But perhaps in the modern way we use language now, maybe it's acceptable that inhale and exhale as nouns. Uh, Page 36. Finally, I catch you with one actual grammatical error. uh, Second paragraph. What faint orange glow from the street lights he could see spilling over from Katipunan flickers out immediately. Unless it's a typo. Okay. Because it's not street lights that's a subject, right? It's glow. The glow flickers. Very minor. Having said that, okay, reviewing that chapter, Boyd, I don't know. It has good writing, it has space, uh, it has a certain build-up, but I find it too long. I find it parang unnecessarily, minsan paulit-ulit, what's happening to the character. Maybe it's too long for the reader because it's too mystifying a chapter. You don't really know what's happening. There's a mysterious something or other that's haunting this character, and you don't know what it is. It never leads to anything until he says he wants to figure out. It's something that's fearsome only for the character involved. But it doesn't become fearsome. Hindi na ipat, it doesn't make us fearful of the whole thing. Because there's not too much is identified there. Again, little detour here. I must caution, in a horror narrative, one has to be careful that it never turns into Deus ex machina. That's very, very, very important. If there is something that's nakakatakot, that's scary, it can't ever be simply Deus ex machina. There has to be a background or backstories with regards to whatever that is that weaves fear among the characters and ultimately the readers. Anyway, this is your second chapter excerpt. Disruption. At this point, again, the beginning of this paragraph is very well written. This is excellent exposition. The drive from Maya's home, etc., to the school, and then it goes on to her father trying to talk to her, Maya, etc. In particular, even from inside the car, she can see how blackened and callous the boys' feet have become, referring to the people who are playing, the boys playing in the basketball court. The earth had grown hard around them, the soil having flattened and pounded into submission in a rough, dead circle. Very good. Maya, her father discards the rising inflection of a question. And then she doesn't hear him through her music and her thoughts. She doesn't want to. She watches their feet kick up dust and dirt. You have this, it's very cinematic. No? You have Maya and her father inside the car. Maya's viewpoint, seeing the school that they're approaching, the basketball court, people play. Her thoughts are with those guys playing. Her dad is trying to intrude into her thoughts. She can't hear him because of the, I think she has, what do you call them, earbuds. I particularly like that paragraph where it's that if she doesn't want to, she watches their feet kick up dust and dirt. Their slippers are by the patches of grass that struggle to thrive in the lot. They've been playing there for years, maybe even generations. And then the last line, the grass can grow in earth that refuses to be nurtured. That is not mine. That is the that is the, that is third person omniscient editorializing, and it's perfectly acceptable. You know, it is good. It's part of a good narrative voice. You know? You can get out of the center of intelligence and, like God, pronounce something, you know, some truth, something. And it's very well expressed, very well articulated. It adds, it enhances Maya's physical observation of that scene of the basketball lot. And then suddenly that voice comes in. And it's not a disruption, unlike the title of the paragraph. Uh, it's the same thing that happens 2 paragraphs down when it said that respect for her father alone can never coax this kind of willingness to participate in a conversation with him from her. Again, that's the third person omniscient voice now speaking. Also, little aside saying, or maybe he's making a face of the song, you know. Parang may nagkikwento sa atin. There is someone who's narrating all this. Again, I like the descriptive passage here. Her eyes are sunk deep into bags that she can never sleep away, and her expression makes them all the more prominent. Very, very simple, huh? But very true. Page 38, the author introduces a new, you might say, gimmick, you know, with the dialogue. Okay lang naman. And then, the exposition. Cue with a smile, but only gently. A quirk of the lip, release the relieved sigh. It's a change of pace in terms of the expository tone and pace. No? Hindi na complete sentences, fragmented, but very effective. It's repeated several paragraphs down where she tucks her phone away in a pocket in her bag, rolls up the earphones, slips it up inside the pouch. Bumibilis yung action, no? So, fragmented sentences. And then, very telling, the penultimate paragraph on page 38, when the author voice is parang going even deeper into the relationship between the father and Maya, no? With the recollection when they were both younger. When they were both younger, she had a fascination with the way he looked. But the author takes the trouble of going parenthetical and seeing it this before she could walk in straight lines and tie her own shoelaces, and he could still read the numbers of his receipts without putting on his glasses and squinting. It's very nice, you know. Unless the writer could have said before he got old. You know? That's simple. But this is, I think someone mentioned kanina yung madaming poets dito, no? This is poetry in a way. It's poetry of extension of image to stand for something that could have been articulated in a simpler way, but in an unremarkable way. This one, it is remarkable, but it's not the type of purple prose language that calls attention to itself. It is very simple lang yung pagka-singit, no? He could still see read the numbers of his receipts without putting on his glasses. Fine. Page 39, first line, the door, the air is warmer outside. Ito I would take out than in the car. Hindi kailangan. The air is warmer outside, period. Alam mo na nanggaling sa car. Again, the second paragraph is a good instance showing the value of the third person point of view. No? When the guard at the gate is beckoning for her to hurry up, She rushes to the gate, bang the steering wheel once, twice before pulling out of the car. The multiplicity of views, you know, this is cinema. You know, the long shot, the medium shot, the cut, you know. She doesn't see her father, so that is not the physical view of Maya. It's us who sees the father driving without Maya paying attention. Yan ba, third person point of view. Lower down, page 39, last paragraph. I don't know if this is a typo. The middle line in that paragraph, last paragraph. Laney is still wearing jersey shorts under her skirt. The right leg is slipping down her leg. Well, yeah, I know. It's the right leg of the shorts. Pero parang, hindi naman redundant, pero parang it can be expressed better, I think, no? The right, whatever it is, part of the shorts. Nothing else. And finally, the last chapter excerpt, the magician. Again, there is something very pregnant in the middle part. The first or the last sentences of the first paragraph of the magician. The image sticks out to her. The natural fused with the artificial, an aesthetically volatile blend that everyone accepted without complaint on account of its functionality. I'm not saying that it's ultra deep, but it's something out of the ordinary way of getting exposition and expository part advance the narrative, you know. Parang these are asides, you know, that I welcome. You know. And then contrasting with the next line. In Lane's words, it looks ugly and weird, but it works. That's practically what was explained in the preparatory line. The aesthetically volatile vis-a-vis the functionality. Nothing else. Again, a sample of it, of very effective editorializing, page 44, second paragraph, the one that begins with these are all facts. Facts are meant to sound recited, and then figures of the past inhabit the present, though those that remain, through those that remain to tell their tales. Little nuggets of wisdom. I like this section as well, in middle part of the page. Facebook, videos on Facebook of cats who jump in surprise when they notice cucumbers and bananas. It's very true. It's a good example. And then it goes back to that one, 2 paragraphs down. Now, there is the pregnant sentence of, we were dating. Yun ang iniintay na sabihin niya, ano, sinigi ba yun? We were dating. And then Maya blinks. She goes back to the image presented earlier. She sometimes wonders if the cat's surprise is because of the sudden presence of something in the space where there had only been absence. But the author does not stop there. Or if it's because all of the objects are shaped like penises. Ang ganda ng mga extensions, ha? Dito lang yan. Ang last na notation ko dito, page 45, when the italics, the passages in italics start. Now, at first I was wondering, Mickey slips into more familiar tongue. into the more familiar tongue. Okay? Taught her the primacy of the English language. In her anger, she conjures the tongue of a poet out of thin air, summoning accusations and memories, etc., etc. Parang it's a prelude to this long passage that becomes in italics. No? This is her rant. No? And again, here is the value of the third person that allows the central intelligence to have a very powerful voice, no? That takes over the narrative. It's not the authorial viewpoint now. No, you enter the mind of one particular character, and let that character express herself. Uh, that entire passage, three paragraph passage, or no more, in italics. Uh, Finally, another example of editorializing, middle of page 46, when he writes, sorrow flowers from pain that is willfully shared. If one is lucky enough, catharsis can also work the same way. Obviously, that kind of knowledge or experience or wisdom is not something that is being shared by any of these girls. It's an outer voice that imposes itself on that collective mindset. Na, maganda rin yung characterization ni Pamela. Now, she obviously stands out from the rest because she's the badass. No? Parang maangas na, full of herself. Uh, I can't in all but name. Perfect description of her. So I'm satisfied with these three chapter excerpts. I'm intrigued by how the rest of the novel will work itself out. No? Eventually, the main challenge will be to convince the reader about the existence of this horrific whatever. No? Where it came from, why is it there? Is it just the product of collective angst and imagination, or from these girls? No? As we sometimes hear of girls in a school in the provinces who were possessed, suddenly possessed, no? Multiple persons possessed by something. No? But obviously, this is not a matter of our usual aswang or whatever. It's something else. It's an urban, I don't know, gnome or genome that hovers around. And until that is identified, which I hope it is successfully done towards the end, only then can its conflict with the rest of the context of the story, which in the prologue is said to be parang our social structure, something about family and religion. And that is eventually the conflict that the big beast, unnamed beast out there, the 666, against the 7-Elevens of our daily consciousness. That's all for now.
We only have 30 minutes. Ma-extend pa po ba?
I'm not gonna edit it. Okay. I have the privilege of being familiar with Miguel's work. I'm familiar with the language, but with the language, actually, this is already a they can do proceed so much more with his language, so he knows his tricks. No? So that's why I'm gonna be working so hard on him. Okay, so several points, so 5 points, some nitpicky, and then others for potential for substantial. So I think I asked around, and there's general confusion as to this relatively large cast of characters. So we have several threads ongoing. There is certainly everything plot. I'm still kind of confused. So part of that stems from the mention in the script that the characters, many of the characters, except perhaps Pamela, are not differentiated enough. Right? It doesn't help that they Western sounding names. They seem to have, all of them seem to have issues with their parents, that issues, on issues, etc. So they have to be differentiated. Otherwise, just remove. I mean, it's a an easy cure or yeah, it's an easy cure just to explain his characters. So I'm also confused about Tagalog, the dialogue in Tagalog. I've always wondered about this, and for me, when you're writing, when you're a Filipino writer, when you're writing in English, uh, your fiction is already translated. No? Parang the text is already translated. So I'm not sure what the value is in having the dialogue in Tagalog. No? And at that, hindi naman siya, parang there's no point about, well, there is a point about language being made, but not in the way that the text, that some of the dialogues are in Tagalog. So something to think about. I think it is the, with the project, do something. If you just translate in dialogue into English. But there's a way to play with English to signal that it's actually spoken in Tagalog. There's a way to do that. Many older English writers do that. India, etc. But there's a few in the dialogue that actually the characters are speaking in Tagalog or Filipino. Now, I like sort of I'm a little bit purist about point of view. And especially in this case, because the shifts in point of view per chapter seem to be crucial in moving the narrative forward. And I'm a little less lenient about the quote-unquote variations in point of view. But you have chapters, obviously third person, but following basic essentially quote from the point of view of Maya. And then the editorializing bits. Actually, I also highlighted the same parts that sort of enumerated, and I'm not sure I'm very comfortable about them. So something to think about, especially because I've noticed that you can actually, if you're familiar with free indirect address. Now, you stay in the third person, and yet some aspects or some words of the text, are owned by the character. I'll give you a very specific example. On page 47, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth paragraph. Today is not one of those days. Maya is seconds away from storming over to Manila and putting her to the ground by her stupid pink backpack. No, there's a shift in the register. If you notice, no, there's a shift in the register from third person. It's in the third person, and yet when you get to the stupid pink backpack, you know that kind of description is actually by Maya. So you can actually manipulate third person without validating the fact that it's actually Maya thinking all of these. And then that's kind of stabilized or move it for me when you and the flourishes are, I think, too they're hard to ignore. So for instance, I identified some of them. I mean, actually the same lines that Sir quoted. Figures of the past inhabit the present through those that remain to tell their tales, etc. Something like that. So yeah, so it's something to think about. Obviously, we have two opinions on the matter. And finally, perhaps a more substantial comment has to do with the genre, the horror genre. And it's so hard to execute horror on the page, precisely because the act of reading, you have to read it line by line, as opposed to a visual, when you have a sort of like a floating post or something, and you just see it without the mediation of text or reading. As opposed to, it's so hard to render surprise, element of surprise or shock textually. Kasi you have to go through it line by line. So I admire that your way of building horror or terror is by ambiance. And I think you do it, I'm sure you know that you do it effectively. I'll connect that to the general ambivalence about this entity. We don't know quite how to feel about it. And I think there's a missed opportunity because, as you know, the horror genre predominance of horror texts in the 1980s and 1990s in the Philippines and Manila, specifically because the rapid urbanization, criminality, etc. So horror is not arbitrary, no? Not in the literary, in the textual sense. It's not arbitrary. It almost always emerges from a side of trauma. And here, the trauma seems to be personal. There's an intention to encapsulate more institutional sources of trauma, religion, the church, etc. Pero from here, parang no-overpower sila that very powerful scene in the very beginning, and that seems to be the source of this trauma. So maybe think about it. Some options for you to consider. It's to maybe redistribute that source of trauma from the purely personal and private to something more collective and social. I think that's gonna be it's a challenge. It's definitely hard to do. For Filipinos, even many essays about it, like in summer, etc. So, yeah. Okay.
All right. So just a couple comments from what I saw in this excerpt. Although I'm just some guy, so take it as you will. But what I noticed at the beginning was you set up the scene like I like how you focused on the normality. It was so you described normal. Like it was very common, very usual. It's something that we're all familiar with Aurora. With Aurora, with the kind of with the scene that you set up with the street lights and the street. So you set up the normal right before you dove into the horror aspect, and which kind of set the difference between the comfortable, the usual, the normal, and the horrific. So that's what made it more meaningful. Is because if you had just said like this guy was walking down the street and a monster comes up, and then it doesn't really impact us as much because we don't have the setup. And in terms of like the coherence and being able to understand it, I didn't really feel that. It felt very familiar sliding into it. Actually, if you don't mind me saying, like reading that first part where Derek is attacked is like watching the cold open. So if you remember like those old TV the series back in the 90s, like you'd watch somebody get attacked and then the X-Files theme song would play, or like Buffy or something like that would play, and then it felt like that, and then the next scene you'd cut to the protagonist, which is exactly what happens here. The next day it's Maya and her friends. And for that also, Maya and her friends are very familiar too. Like they seem to be people that you would know in your life, that you would encounter in school. Pamela seems, people like Pamela exist, unfortunately, and she's characterized very well, very colorfully. She seems like a very Regina George character, making life miserable for other people seems to be her only purpose of existence. But I like that, and it's like also going back to the original, to the first part about the void. You make a point about the jacket, you make a point about the earphones, the shoulder bag, and then later on you see that because Derek, although he's not named, he makes a point to adjust his shoulder bag, to adjust his jacket, and you draw attention to the overpass, or to the flyover. And these are seemingly mundane things that actually get referenced later in the chapter, because his shoulder bag flies off, his jacket gets torn off, literal foreshadowing, because Derek ends up in the shadow of the pile to hide from the beast. And I like how the beast isn't seen. To get away from describing the beast, you focus more on the reaction of the character. And it's like those 90s TV shows where the character ends up at a wall, and all you see is the shadow of the beast on the character's face and his reaction, because you don't want to give away too much of the beast. And if I didn't know that this chapter occurred in the middle of the book, it would seem like a full open. And also the way you characterize Maya, is you make a point to say that she's very neat, and you characterize her relationship with her father in the reflection of her neatness. She has her books arranged in a certain way. She rolls up she has a kind of like a procedure or a routine that she does before she exits the car. And her dad's looking at her like trying to pick up or trying to get clues, trying to familiarize himself with his daughter. Like, trying to get clues from what she's doing. Oh, that's what she's doing now. Like that kind of thing. And you do that in a very minimalistic way. And you contrast it with her very disturbed personal life. And I guess it kind of got like, with everything, the way you wrote it, the atmospherics of the way you wrote it, it seemed very like, when you describe normal, but very ominous too. Like there's an underlying tone of dread, or like of fear, something like that. It's like in the movies when they would show like an empty swing, and it's supposed to be like something cheerful, but it's empty. Now it's ominous. And the scene in the school reminds me of something out of like Carrie or something. Maybe it's not her. For Carrie, it was her period, like it was her menstruation. This one might be like her family issues with her dad. And is the beast controlled by Maya? Can you say it? All right. Okay. So yeah, those are just the things. So it's a very very delightful and scary, horrific passage.
Hi, Miguel. Yung akin medyo unpopular opinion yung akin. Para lang may iba kang perspective. First of all, dahil unpopular opinion niya, ask mo na kita, sino yung target reader mo? Sino yung naging vision mo nagbabasa ng libro mo?
So when I was writing it, it was just so hard. But then like now that I'm revising for like about why.
So yung age group na sa...
Your age group now is
Tapos yung next yung question is, what is your priority for this book? To scare or to display yung literary prowess? Ano yung mas priority? Scare. Kasi the way I see it, yung in-excerpt mo na chapter, point, feeling ko yun din yung nakikita mo. Yun yung pinaka-important na chapter ng book mo eh. More than the climax, the ending. Feeling ko yun yung parang make or break chapter mo. To the point na, ang suggestion ko, mas gusto ko sama sa chapter 1 para chapter 1 pa lang, hook na ako. Parang i-rearrange lang yung story na patay na pala. Pero, ayun, parang for me, forgive ko yung opinion ko. The way I see it, yun talaga yung, kasi yun yung based sa outline mo, yun yung part na nag-go into detail ka kung paano mag-hunt yung monster mo. So, in essence, dapat yun yung pinaka-importante kasi sa ibang part sa climax kaya ulitin niya lang yung gagawin niya eh. So, ulit lang tapos pwedeng konting sentences na yung gagamitin mo. So, yung mag-disagree po ako. Regarding sa pacing, for the chapter point, feeling ko kailangan siyang bumilis. Kasi ako as a reader naman na opinion nito, the way I read books na ma-engage ako is kapag nakaka-relate ako. So, pagka nakarelate na ako, nalalagay ko yung sarili ko dun sa character na pinabasa ko. So, for example, kung tama di ba galing sa bar, then, pag lasing ako, hindi ko napapansin natin ang nangyayari sa akin, may ringing sensation, tapos may silence eh. Yung actually, pwede mong simulan yung chapter mo dun sa silence na part, yung wave, silence of the wave. Kasi yun yung description kapag lasing ka, di ba? Parang medyo, hindi mo makikita usually yung ilaw eh. Tapos by that time na, since dapat mabilis yung chapter na ito kasi ito na yung horror, pwede mo kasing i-delegate yung yung mga poetic na lines into other chapters. Pero dito sa make and break chapter mo na to na horror, mas gusto ko sana bilang horror siya, alam mo yung, pag ako kasi natakot, pwede ko magmura.
Live tayo. Live.
Okay lang? Ayun. Pag ako takot ako, putang ina mo to! Gaganon ako, di ba? Pag hinahabol ako ng tapos, instead of na tinitingnan ko yung mga lugar as a way to describe the environment, mas titingnan ko yung lugar kung saan ako next pupunta. Parang, ano yung lista? Yung parang movie na Maze Runner. Di ba pag tumatakbo sila, ang laging pinaka-priority ng utak nila is to check saan sila next makaka-escape. Dahil hinahabol na sila. Para mabilis, para unang chapter pa lang, ma-hook na yung reader mo, tapos takot na siya agad. Tapos pwede mo nang i-mettle down agad after. Yun yung opinion ko.
Cool. Okay. I'm gonna go be quick because I want to give chance to speak. So actually, with the flourishes, I kind of the flourishes that we pointed out about Sergen and Sir Fit. Actually, I felt like it took me out of immersion in a lot of stories, and I wanted to be immersed. It's a horror story, and that's how you get scared. So ang pinakamagandang problema ko sa horror story, hindi ako natakot. So kung yun yung horror siya at hindi ako natakot, parang there's a big problem there. And I think you might want to address this in a different way, but I think the problem is because we keep getting kicked out of immersion with the way that you present. And being direct actually might be a good idea to look into as a POV. Isa rin is that I don't know if it's a fault of the chapters I got or somewhere in the middle of the novel, but I don't care if any of them die. Diba? Parang, yeah, I wish parang I hated Pamela or something. Kasi if I hated her, parang, oh yeah, fuck, she died or something. Or, diba? I want to root for somebody in a horror story. I want to wish somebody lives. I want to wish somebody dies. Pero ang nangyari, I don't care if any of them die. Maybe it is the fault of just having that partner as a man. Maybe that we will be built up into caring more about these people before we can actually start murdering them. And there's some things that I think with your courses, kasi you tend to over-describe some stuff. When you over-describe them and then you go into these metaphors, which you do very well, by the way, you have great command of language. But I don't think they should be there. Parang yung sa mga points na nandun, they just kick me out of the narrative. And then there's ito yung nitpili ko na thing, is that yung when she saw the kids in their Carlos feet from far away inside a car, that's 60 feet away. You can't see like Carlos feet. And that also kicked me out of the narrative. So I think kasi with horror, immersion, letting me be in this story or being, and you do command the ambience very well. I also want to see then how you would explore using action in your horror, yung movement and things happening, rather than just things being there in the surroundings as scary. And you're good at that. You're good at things in the surroundings being scary. Although again, if you over-describe, pick me out of it, and I'm over-scared. But things that move, are terrifying. That's why we are scared of spiders, because they move creepy. Not because they look creepy. They don't. They're cute. They have 8 legs. But octopuses have 8 legs. They're not creepy. But it's the way they move. So I don't know. These are things that I think I look for when a novel calls it a horror. And I think you can get there. Yeah.
Okay, quick lang, no? Certainly you can write. That's why it would also push the limit. I agree with the points raised by Sir Glenn na it should go beyond the personality. Kaya meron akong, in terms of design, yung naisip ko, I think it would be productive if we ask this question. Nasaan ba yung mga characters natin? Within the world sila, and then the bigger world na actually hindi pa lumalabas, no? kaya ganito sila, or they position themselves outside of the world. Therefore, rebelde sila. So I think magandang itanong nasaan sila. Kasi yung napansin ko, may appreciation of YA primarily via TV series na until more than the available YA. So I was thinking, for instance, of the end of the forgive this fucking world, no? So in Netflix, at Netflix I will appreciate it at first, but I was hooked because of characterization, the dialogue. Wow, no? First episode pa lang, hook ka na. So dito, yung character, no? They are, for me, they're so mild, and this is so normal. And kung yung reader mo ay yung mga contemporary mo and you want to go beyond, I think you have to be more irreverent. I like your language, but I think you can push being more edgy, you know, more dark, ironic, violent, in a very beautiful language. No? So extraordinary siya. Very cinematic kasi, pero napaka no? Ako nabagalan rin ako, bored ako, no? So, I think dahil nga, the philosophy, no? What's really the story, your story, bakit ganito sila? No? Ito yung sinasabi ni Sir Glenn na, ano yung, collective, no? Ano yung nangyayari, bakit ganito, no? Restless pa sila, stress sila dahil, di ba, kahit na-privilege sila dito, nakita kong clue, alam mo maganda, na maaring unconscious ka, pero lumalabas ito several times yung voice. And I think it's really about a story about voice, or finding voice, no? Nandito yan sa nandito yan sa huli, and then sa first part pa lang. And there's like yung scene na nakasakay siya sa car, then nakita niya yung mga homeless daw and faceless. Meron siyang sense of kinship doon, no? So is this about otherness or being different but at the same time? So no? Is this a story about apathy or about yung ganon? Ito yung mga ibig namin sabihin na, diba, the themes and the bigger world, no? And that's why ganito sila. Or you can position your characters na they want to be outside of this world. So they are giving up, no, sa Philippines, the traffic and all, and that's why the transformation, etc., etc. So yun na sa akin. No? I look forward sa revision dito and eventually publication. I will be happy to read, no, in the coming months or years, no, na ma-publish ito.
Sorry, can I just add something? Because we were talking about immersion a while ago, something that's jumped out in the Void chapter. He doesn't say anything, like he doesn't go like, who's there, or something like that. He doesn't scream, otherwise it's not also stated. And in the second one, where the policeman goes into the school, something that just took me out while reading it at the moment, was how the policeman immediately went to the classroom. It's just that I don't think it would happen. Like, how would he know to go to the classroom? And I think that maybe they would go to the principal first, and the principal would go to the teacher, and that cause the scene that would happen in the story. And I think I understand that that was like an artistic thing that you did to kind of set the scene, but that's the question of flair over function. So, otherwise, you know.
Kami na lahat dito yung pasensya na, bukas na lang kayo. Ayun, mag-a-add na ako dun sa suggestion mo kanina. Suggestion ko na, sorry. Suggestion ko, kasi diba, para mas mapabilis yung pace, tapos para tawag yan, compromise. Kung gusto mong world building ng setting ng sa Aurora Boulevard, plus mapabilis yung pace, better sana kung yung sa pagtakbo niya, dun siya i-discover na tisod siya, tapos wala pala siyang nakita kasi yung lamppost namatay na. Parang as the character moves, dun niya na one sentence lang or palagagagag lang na phrase, dun niya na-describe yung environment. Para lang bumisa na konti yung pace. Tapos, manghihimasok. May suggestion pa ako isa. Kasi, kaya din ata, parang in addition sa sinabi ni Ma'am Pangga, ay, Pangga. Ay, Ma'am. Yung feeling ko lang yung missing context dito, yung characters mo, anong edad yan sila? College ba? High school, yun, high school. Yung hindi ko nakikita sa horror story mo is yung pagka-millennial nila. Wala yung gadgets, wala yung social media, saka yung internet. Kaya parang napapokus ka ata dun sa yung sa nakikita lang mata niya lang. Hindi yung yung world niya ng pagiging millennial niya, which is mostly nasa internet. Ayun. Tapos, last na. Opinion. Suggestion lang ito, pwede mong i-ignore. Baka pwede mong dagdagan ng isa pang complication yung plot mo. For example, ito, very weird na itong suggestion ko. Paano kung, dahil millennial nga sila, Bloody Mary sila, pero nag-Skype sila mag-Bloody Mary. So yung beast mo, na-trap siya sa laptop, tapos yun yung bagong mechanics mo. Parang dagdagan mo lang isang minor detail, pero ma-infect niya yung buong plot. Para maging super unique siya. Like, yun lang.
Gusto mo itong ihabol. Kasi hilig na magbasa ng horror fiction. Segue lang, yung magaling magsulat ng literary na horror fiction, Thomas Bowlby. Napakaganda ng prose niya, pero yung dinidescribe niya is napaka-dark. Pero magaling na, it's for dark. Anyway, i-refer ko lang yung sinabi ni Pangga sa inserted tungkol sa trauma. Pwede rin natin sabihin kung ano ba yung parang on top of the trauma, ano ba yung transgression na ng community kung saan nanggaling yung mga characters na ito para ma-incur nila yung destructions na ginagawa ng entity na ito. Kasi yung pinaka-question ko, bakit nandito si monster in the first place? Kasi binabasa ko yung prologue, hinahanap ko dito kung ano yung reason bakit nandun siya in the first place. Saka kasi different yung question ko sa Darker Things kasi Stranger Things kasi naalala ko yung Stranger Things is it's about those 4-5 boys tapos maraming characters doon tapos naisip ko justified yung upside down world kasi merong transgression na ginawa yung tao nila with regards to technology na naman. Pero yun na nga, may justification bakit meron yung mga monsters na yun at saka ma-justify rin bakit sila ma-atake ng tao, etc. Yun naman ang logic ng mga nag-human ng mga creatures na ma-atake sa mga tao. Tsaka, yun na, salamat.
Last chance, guys.
Ayan. So I want to commend you for this effort, no? Parang it reminds me a lot of hindi ako yun sa horror, pero nakabasa na ng konti na for YA. Have you read Rebel Angels, Liba Brave?
I know Liba Brave.
Yeah. So it's like super dark siya. Tapos siguro hinahanap ko lang din yung, I think some of them mentioned it, like sila Ernie, ganyan na the language is beautiful. Pero ako parang hinahanap ko lang yung more emotion niya. Kasi siguro my feeling while reading was ang heavy. But I don't know if it's necessarily the good kind of heaviness all the time. Although it was only 3 chapters din kasi baka ito pala yung, di ba, there's a story mo, meron ka mga light moments, tapos yung mas darker na, ganyan. So baka ito yun, kaya ganun yung na-sense ko. Pero aside from more here, I'm also looking for light moments din kasi they're teens. So I think parang sometimes you want that kind of relief every now and then. Tapos para lalo din kaming mas magugulat pag mas magiging intense yung fear namin when those moments come at the point when you thought na safe na pala sila or anything. But overall, yun, I'm also excited to read it. And I'm very curious how you would combine your language with yung action, which is very important and should not be compromised by this the type of language that we use. So yun lang, pero congratulations.
Si
Yes, yeah, I really want to actually read this when it's done and you revised it.
si Angela.
And my comments actually were in the synopsis. I just noticed some characters come in the middle, and then it goes from Maya's story, the Nikki story, the Nico story. So I guess it would help. I guess it would help you focus. Like, whose story is this? Exactly. I think it's primarily Maya's, but I think the way you outlined it, you might get distracted from that. Or you could. I mean, it's also important that your secondary characters stand by themselves, but I guess it has to be defined more like how do they all intersect with this beast. So I think that can help like build the action and build the horror.
Kung wala na, siguro pwedeng
More? Ano? Author.
palakpakan natin si Miguel. Anong gusto?
Hello. Oh, thank you all for your comments. Uh, thank you. And kasi when you pointed out about super cinematic ang writing ko, yeah, because that's how when I envision writing things, I perceive them like as literal like shots talaga. Because I think visually. And then parang that's been a problem in the past because like it has come to the point that the plot would be compromised in terms of like the ambience and like the visuals of it all, and that's something that I'm trying to work on. And yun is a thing. Sorry, you mentioned the cat. You would see Liverbury. My main, she's one of like you know the diviners for Liverbury. But it's a horror novel, but like like one of my in terms of language, I was super influenced by that, and I also got her problems then because critics also pointed out how she's super into like the ambience and the stuff, but like it stops being scary. So, and like thank you all for comments. I promise to do my best by